How are you doing?
I'm good, Jenny. How are you? Welcome back.
Welcome back to the show, guys. Thanks for listening and tuning in. And this is season 2.
I know. I can't believe it.
For In the House podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. I'm Jenny Woon, and we're here with
Toni Singh.
And we are back in the studio here. And what were you up to during Christmas and New Year's?
Well, it was certainly different this year.
Yeah.
Not a lot of celebrations, which we normally take part in. But honestly, I had the new baby at home. It was kind of like a welcome respite.
Mm-hmm.
It was relaxing. There was no pressure to go out and see people as there normally is around the holidays. So we just really enjoyed our quiet time. And I needed a bit of relaxation.
Good. Did you actually take it?
A little bit. I think I got more relaxation this year because of COVID. And again, there wasn't that pressure to go out and see people. I was still working actually.
Okay.
But it wasn't like going to work, tending to the family, and then also trying to make sure that we spend time with people that we don't always see. Because of course we want to see them, but there's only so many hours in the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you? What did your holiday look like this year? It was so different.
It looked, well, for me, it did look sunny. So I went down south.
Good for you.
And I just had to get away. I'm able to quarantine when I got back and reset and recharge. And where I went was extremely warm, and I was outdoors.
Where did you go down south?
I went to California and Costa Rica.
So wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that why you have a nice tan?
I am a little bit tanned. And down there they're still, practicing the safe protocols.
Yes.
But everything's outdoors too. We're just, I think being in the sun, it does help. It does help with people's moods.
If nothing else, vitamin D, right? Vitamin D.
I needed that badly.
So you went down there, you quarantined for 2 weeks upon arrival?
No, it wasn't necessary.
Okay, and when you got back, you did the 2-week quarantine here.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. And actually they pulled you got to get tested and provide a report at the airport, before you
go on the plane.
Canada. Yes.
Yeah.
So I had to do that, and I actually did not know about that. Someone told me about it. And everything, I'm back here and started working right away.
Me too.
Through virtual Zooms and everything like that. And it's been a very busy few weeks into January.
The busy market, everyone. 2021. I wonder what the year will bring.
Yeah. What are you finding for trend-wise for the first month so far?
Well, all of our listings have sold in multiple offers. Knock on wood. We're still waiting on some of the subject removals for that, so perhaps I shouldn't count the chickens yet. But definitely, we're seeing that if it's priced right, it's going right away. This is true even of condos. So the townhouses and detached market were incredibly active going into Christmas and then in the new year as well. But we're seeing the same things again for condos, depending on the area and what the price point is. And then also seeing, the low inventory for sure has something to do with it, I think. What are you seeing in the marketplace for you guys, you and your team?
Yeah, I'm noticing all our listings as well. We're getting multiple offers. I am afraid for a couple of my buyers who are
priced out.
Yep, they're priced out completely, and they've sold their home already.
Oh no! Which areas? Like, were they moving further out?
Yeah, Tri-Cities, East Vancouver, but they want to be in. They want a larger space.
But even Langley, Fraser Valley. So this is something interesting. We're also seeing our clients scale up. So for example, they're moving they're selling their downtown condos or, even outside of Vancouver in Burnaby. Let's say, for example, it's a studio or 1 bedroom even, or 2 bedroom. Well, the price point could be anywhere between $500,000 to $800,000, depending, there's a variety of factors that will play a role in the market value of that price. But what we're seeing is our clients are selling those, especially people with young families, and they are moving further out. So Warren recently moved to Victoria. I think COVID expedited for him his need to be in nature and have larger space. And our clients that are buying on the island, they're selling here and buying through him on the island. And you can buy an amazing detached house on a huge lot.
So are they working from home?
Yes. So,
Okay.
and that's a fair point too. Some of these people are mostly working from home where they don't need to be in the city. And perhaps if they do have to come back to the city for certain meetings, whenever, it depends. People aren't really meeting in person, but if they did have to, it would be maybe done very efficiently. So one meeting, coming back once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever it is. It has to work for them for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I've actually did want to mention is one of my developers, we've gone back to the drawing board and revised a few of the floor plans to include den and office space.
You have to right now. That is going to be so essential, I think, as a trend and motivating factor for buyers in the future.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's going to be a trend. I think it's going to be.
It's just what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Yeah. And
wrong wording.
Trend, trend is temporary.
But you know what I mean? It's going to be a staple.
Like this is going to be moving forward how people will be wanting to be living in their homes.
Especially if you don't have an outdoor space.
Yeah. So that goes into our first topic for this year.
Okay.
For season 2.
Yeah.
And how are we going to work with buyers and sellers in this market where there's a lot of low inventory, but we want to finish the first quarter off in a very strong momentum. So let's kind of give some pointers for today to our listeners.
Okay, so the topic is actually finishing Q1 with 10 deals.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Or more. Definitely encourage you guys to do more.
And that's the thing. We had to attach a figure to it so that we could have it in the description.
Yeah.
But do keep in mind the suggestions and advice that we're going to give. It can be adjusted to reflect whatever your goal is. So don't base it on other people's goals. We never do that. Base it on your goal for what you want to achieve. And these can be skewed and changed.
Right. So how are we going to get that number or more? If you're a realtor here, first off, figure out specifically, what I'm saying is in capital letters, be very specific and write down and jot down outlining the total number of transactions you want to do. Okay. And I think most often people are just, they're not committed to any goals. They don't know where their next lead source is coming from. But if you commit and write down the number of transactions you want to do, basically January, February, March, April, and actually all the way up to the end of the year, but you really want to focus, today's topic is obviously the first quarter, commit to that number, but also write down where that lead source is coming from.
It's important to know where the business is coming from for sure. How would you do it if you didn't source it?
And that includes the location, where they're coming from, where maybe are they coming from like a referral? Are they coming from your sphere of influence? Are you focusing on a specific building that you want to target? So that just write down exactly where you feel you're going to get those leads.
I think that's a great tip. I have one as well. And it is it's more general. It's just to talk to more people about real estate. So I think that yours is the perfect segue into that because obviously you kind of need to know what you're aiming for in terms of numbers. Now, if you break it down further, it's like, okay, if the goal was 10, let's say in the first quarter, you need to break that down into how many per month and then break the monthly figure down to how many per week. So 10 deals in the first quarter, January, February, March, right? So that's around 3 a month.
Yeah.
And then know how many, so 3 a month. Okay, well, what is that then? So each week, how many listing appointments would you need to go on? And then how many of those listings would actually sell? So I'm very much a numbers person in that way. I like to have the goal, break it down, like disseminate it. And then what is the actual goal for the week? And then even from the week, you could get really, really micro about it. What's the goal for the day? What do you need to do each day? In
So
order
down to how many calls that you're making?
100%. Now, let me preface this by saying, so I'm relating this to talking to more people about real estate. These are related. So for example, if your goal was, let's say, 10 deals for Q1, so let's just equate that with 3 deals for the month. You should at least be talking to how many people per day in order to get that. Do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely, which goes into my second
does
point. It actually is perfect because what you want to commit to is a schedule as well. So even though you're writing down the number of transactions and where you're getting your lead gen from, committing to a schedule. So on a daily basis, even time blocking down to the hour, down to the 30 minutes, how much is allocated to personal time? How much is allocated to phone calling? How much is allocated to meeting up with somebody and doing a pop-by. Brian Buffini is really big on that, is doing pop-bys at people's houses. Maybe, if right now during COVID, you can even drop off a little bit of a gift, a flower at their door, that even counts. And if you want to schedule time off and you know what your vacation time is in the future, then you know that anything without that, you're going to have to work extremely hard and maximize your time and maximize its capacity so that you are going to get the results that you want.
Precisely. So that was your second point.
Yes.
Carving out the time blocking and the schedule.
Yes.
Okay. So let's say, for example, we've talked to more people about real estate. So actually, let's go back a few steps. So you had your why and how many deals that you wanted to close for Q1. And then based on that, you started talking to more people about real estate, because how are you going to sell people something if you're not talking to people about real estate?
Yeah. Oh, actually, let's break down who can they talk to.
Okay, sure.
So a realtor their immediate sphere of influence would be family, friends, maybe their mortgage broker that they always work with, a lawyer that they always work with.
Any professionals that you have a good relationship with, absolutely.
Second tier?
Second tier could even be, well, I guess people are not really on sports teams right now, but recreational activities too, people that you know from that. Could be weightlifting, could be a running group. And again, that's not typically happening right now, but that's a great source as well.
Yeah, the mailman.
Well, actually, funny thing, the mailman often knows when people are going to move.
Oh yeah, they'd be
They're
a good
actually
resource.
a great source, everyone. I'm not sure if you knew that. You also have to think outside the box.
You just gave away your secret.
That's why we're on this podcast, because I'm not holding anything back. I don't mind sharing. I have other ideas too that I know other people are not doing. But yeah, just the standard traditional ones are the ones that we've kind of talked about, right? It's really, really anything. I mean, if you're in a church group too, I don't, actually that's a separate topic. I'm not in a church group, but I have really great friends in real estate across North America where, they draw on their communities because they already know, like, and trust you. So it just makes sense then that you would start there.
Right.
I was going to say another point, which was, okay, let's dial it back a second. So before we segued off, we had said, talk to more people about real estate. And what then needs to happen? So you're talking to people about real estate, but then what needs to happen? You have to, so lead follow-up on those leads that you now have with people that you've had the conversations with that are looking to buy or sell real estate. Now, they might not be signing a contract with you yet. That makes them a lead follow-up.
Right.
Okay. So an essential part about any real estate business is following up with these people. If they're not ready to list or sign a contract with you today, lead follow-up is key. And the general rule of thumb is that if someone tells you, like, say you call them today and they say, hey, Jenny, I want to sell in the spring. I'm not going to do it right now. The general rule of thumb is that you cut that time in half for your follow-up.
Okay.
Now, I would also assume that you would delve more into a conversation about what their specifications would be and what their motivations are for selling or buying, right? Because it has to be client-centered. But whatever they say, you cut the time in half, because the reality is people's plans can change. And those people are now a lead. You have to, if you're spending the time to talk to more people about real estate, it's also very important that you follow up with these people about what their plans are and how you can be of service.
Right. So what does it mean when you don't, when you're not replying to emails? It just shows that you're unreliable.
Who would not reply to emails or be in communication with, I mean, I'm not even talking about clients here, Jenny. Who would not be in communication with somebody just because? Like, genuinely, it's not about getting a client. It's like, well, genuinely, like, how are you?
There's a lot.
Okay.
There's a lot.
Okay. Nobody on this podcast.
No. But you would think that everybody would want to do well for themselves, and they'll get what they can get, for their business. But I feel like there's probably more people who are afraid to reply back,
Really?
simply because they don't want to get rejected.
Okay, that's actually, it wasn't actually in our notes here, but this is so essential.
Yes, what is it?
So this is going to help you meet your quarterly goals for the year, whatever that goal is. A big part of it is going to be that mindset and getting over, if you suffer from fear of rejection, it's going to be 95% mindset, which we don't actually have on this list.
We're adding it in.
We're adding it in right now. We're going with the flow, like the ocean. But yeah, definitely. I admit, actually, I used to be afraid of rejection.
Mm-hmm. I can't see you being afraid
because
of that.
I've been licensed since 2010.
Yeah.
And I got rejected a lot.
Yeah, but you kept going, knocking on doors.
Yeah, actually, this is a funny story. Can I interrupt our little list for a second? It might be motivating to you guys who are listening. Yesterday, and I actually have this film, so I'll release it at some point. But I interviewed a client. We have an accepted offer on their home, and I'm the listing realtor for them. And I said, hey, Mr. So-and-so, how do we know each other? Like, we actually forgot how long we went back. He said, you knocked on my door.
Oh, wow.
I said, I did knock on your door. What year was that? It was 2013. Now, this person, from just knocking on the door, I had been rejected so many times that day. I know, because I wouldn't get out of my car. No, legitimately. And I just had to do it because I had to talk to more people about real estate in order to meet my goal. Now, this gentleman's name, he won't mind if I mention it. His name is Mr. Singh. Fantastic individual. I knocked on his door. He told me to go away.
Is that your father?
No.
Okay.
Please. No. Sing with
Get away,
S-I-N-G-H.
Stop coming home.
I'm talking about my dad. He was a great lead referral. Definitely not. No. An actual legitimate client that I did not know. Yeah, it's a different Sing.
Unrelated.
That's a good point. People are probably wondering.
Don't you have more clients than your dad?
Yes, I do. So in this specific example, I door knocked him and he told me to leave. And fair enough. I'm knocking on this guy's door. He has no idea who I am. This wasn't even during COVID. I've clearly interrupted his day.
Normal behavior.
You can't take that personally. I interrupted his day. Was he expecting me to knock on the door that day? Certainly not. Did I? Absolutely. And what was his response? Go away. I'm not selling my home.
But you kept going, right?
I was like, great. May I please get your name? My name is Mr. Singh. Okay, wonderful. Do you mind if I check back in with you to see if your plans change in the future? It's a legitimate question. And it comes from a place of honesty, right? Like, yeah, you don't need my help right now. You might need it later. And he said, okay, but don't bother me right now. So I said, great. Now I want to tell you something about this person. Mr. Singh has been a client of mine since he didn't list right away. I contacted him in 2013. I listed his home in 2014.
Okay.
Since then, I have done three transactions for him. I'm his go-to person.
Yeah.
That would not have happened had I been afraid of the rejection. And he told me to leave his house, which I, of course, gladly respected his wishes. And I followed up later. And now it's just such a great relationship. I genuinely, it's amazing how somebody that you've never met, who is essentially a stranger, can become somebody within your sphere.
Right.
And you want to help them. You are genuinely interested in what is happening in their life and how you can be of service.
So the follow-up, what kind of system did you use? Because I feel like, there's
a great question.
so often, you get that reaction from potential leads.
Well, it's the reflex no.
So where are you marking down? Are you putting it in your phone? Are you putting some sort of calendar?
Yeah.
So that our listeners and viewers know how to also track for their future potential leads.
So I'll answer it in two ways. One, we're basically taking you through this list right now. This is a great example of how to cut the lead time in half. Right? Because you notice he didn't want to do anything right away, but he was still somebody that could buy or sell real estate. He was a property owner. He had told me at the time that he was thinking about listing his home in the spring.
Okay.
So
you put it in
I can't remember the exact month that I contacted him. It must have been the winter. I know that it was cold.
Yeah.
But he said, I'll relist in the spring, because I think he also might have expired before. I can't remember right now. This is like 8 years ago. And so I said, okay, fair enough. Can I follow up with you in the future? He gave me permission to do so. And then I cut that time in half. So if we were November, December, January, February, March, April, that's like 5 months, 2.5 months. I went to his door again. I know it was cold still then too. It was still cold. I went, 2.5 months later. We had another conversation about it, and it was funny. He was like, "You're the person that knocked on my door. I told you to leave." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. But are you thinking of selling right now?" He's like, "Yeah, actually I am." I'm like, "Okay, great. Can we have a conversation about it?" Now that speaks to mindset, which we talked about, and not being afraid of the rejection. He did shut me down the first time. If I never went back and I never followed up, I would have not made such a great contact and client for the last 8 years.
Okay, so my takeaways from what you just told me from your story is, even though you get rejected or they declined your service, your next question to them is, okay, do you mind if I follow up?
Yeah.
So get their approval to follow up.
Yeah, okay. I'm not in the habit of harassing or annoying people.
Okay, so second step is you put it into your calendar?
I did put it. So when in the past, when I've door knocked, I only have my phone on me. That's for a number of reasons. One, it's because I want to make a note of the address, the person's name, because I'll be contacted. I've door knocked 100 doors before. Yeah. Like in a day. It's a lot. How am I going to remember the address, the name, whatever? So I'll put it in the phone, and then I put it directly into, I used to use Excel before CRM. So I'd put it into an Excel spreadsheet back then.
Okay.
And then it would actually say, now you can use CRMs where there's a
It
notification.
prompts you,
It's like, hey, listen. So I already cut the time in half, and I'll get a notification saying follow up with Mr. Singh.
Okay. So develop really good habits for follow-up.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to help you meet the goal. Let's move on. That makes sense, right?
Totally.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
So my last point I would want to say is study the market, identify where the problems are or the successes are in the neighborhood, really pay attention to any price trends, and that way, because I feel real estate is such a hot topic.
It is.
In Vancouver especially. So when you're being asked by somebody, a stranger or someone you know, oh, how's the market doing? Okay, well, first of all, you return the question back to them and say, well, are you a buyer? Are you a seller? Are you an investor? Right? From there, you take that to the next level of, okay, what area are you selling? What area are you considering buying? So in the between time, when you're not with clients, when you're not making the phone calls, is study the market. So go into MLS reports, read the news, follow a lot of the trends and whatever resources that are available that will help you understand and support all your opinions
100%
as well.
May I ask a question? So I assume like any salesperson who is selling at a high level will do this anyhow. Is there a point in your schedule, because one of the points on here was defining the schedule. Is there a point in your schedule where you integrate this in on a daily or a weekly basis? Because as we know, real estate market can change like that. It ebbs and it flows, in which case the data should be reviewed on a daily basis. And if you're running, deals here and there, you're going to know what's happening anyhow. You'll have a pulse on the market.
Sure.
But to answer the question for you, is there a point in your routine or your schedule where you make that happen?
So anything that comes into my feed, like Flipboard, like Twitter, those are very quick snapshots of, and very visual too. So they have infographics, they have a lot of charts. So those type of apps that, the Province and the Vancouver Sun, follow the right people, follow the right accounts.
Yeah, that's so key
that
though,
will
because
just
the
provide a
information
summary for you.
So that's interesting then. I do it differently.
There's
no
another
wrong
one,
way to do
There's
it.
another one method too.
What's the other method?
Well, the real estate board comes out with a lot of stats once a month. So generally at the end of the 30 days, a couple days into the next month, the stats come out from the previous month. So that's when you can get it emailed directly to you.
That's
into your
so
inbox.
useful.
So it prompts you to read the.
I do it differently, and the reason why, and this isn't, it's not the right way to do it. It just works for me. I always read the stats. They're highly valuable, but they're also dated. So by the time they come out, it's already a reflection of the previous month. So what I like to do, and it's been a bit challenging now with Stevie not sleeping, and it was in my morning routine before I would get on the phones or whatever. I run the data myself every day.
So you're going
I do it myself.
Like your hot sheets, you mean, or?
Yeah, or if I need it, so larger geographical region, yeah, on my hot sheets, but I want to know how many actives came on, how many sold within the last day, how many expired, terminated, or canceled. And that makes you, I think, like a really great market specialist. And in addition to that, you can use that data with what you're seeing in the marketplace for how many listings that you have, how many buyer sales that you've had, what's actually happening, the small little things that happen, right? Where you can see if a market might be changing, because we don't make the market as realtors. We're the messenger for what's happening in the market. But sorry. So that's what I have done, because it's interesting. If you watch it on a daily level too, it also starts to paint a story.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I want to mention as well, if you don't know the information, I would rather book an appointment make an appointment with that person. So you know
100%.
what? You know what? This is a really good question that you're asking me, but why don't we sit down, because it's not going to just take a couple minutes. I want to give you the full scope of what's happening, and especially in your area that you're looking at or thinking of selling.
Well, that just makes sense too, because if you're contacting people, you're not. Let's bring it back to the numbers. If you had the goal, let's say the goal was 10, because that's what we've said, and you're talking to 10 people per day to hit that. If you need to hit the goal, if you're protective of your schedule, you're not going to necessarily stop everything that you're doing within your time block schedule to give somebody either a listing presentation or an actual appointment. That is client intake, and that does require proper planning and time, because you also want to make sure that you're getting to know that client and what's important to them. So yeah, I 100% agree with you.
Yes. So I think that would be able to get somebody to their 10 deals in the first quarter.
Well, I think I had one last point.
Yeah.
One second here. Just give me a sec, guys. Sorry. I did. It's related to everything that we've been talking about. And so if you've made a goal for yourself, you want to know your numbers. Now, this is very Mike Ferry, because you know that I was in Mike Ferry coaching for quite some time. But knowing your numbers allows you to take the guessing out of where your next deal is going to come from. And let's say, for example, it obviously depends on who you're contacting. Jenny, you made a good point. You mentioned different sources of people that you can contact. Okay, like COI, like first tier, second tier, third tier. So when I say know your numbers, if you're somebody that's out there door knocking and you're contacting people cold, the conversion ratio for that is going to be less, because they don't know you. They probably have no idea who you are. Your conversion will be less than somebody that's come as a referral. Right? Because if it's a referral, you've already had success. You've already been the go-to person for that client. They have referred you a friend or family member who they want to have the similar experience that they have had. And it already creates credibility. If you're contacting people cold, my rule of thumb, I think this actually comes from data somewhere, but it's also true in my practice, it's 10%.
Okay.
So
yeah, I've heard that before too.
So that means that I would have to knock on 100 doors or call 100 people. 10% of that is 10. Now, but that doesn't mean that I'd hit if my goal was 10 for the first quarter, that doesn't mean I would hit 10 deals. It means that out of the 100 people I contacted, 10 would be maybe somebody that wants to do something with real estate. From the 10, it's like the 10% rule, right? From the 10% of those people might set appointments with me. From those appointments, the listing appointments, my ratio is higher, so it's not going to be 10% that sign. That ratio actually increases. It'll be higher. And then once you get it under listing contract, what's your ratio of getting it sold? So that's a different discussion. It's pricing, property, marketing, all that kind of stuff. That's not on the topic and agenda for today. But yeah, I think knowing your numbers are really important. And it does make a difference, guys, on who you're contacting, what type of people you're contacting.
Very good points.
I think that is it. That was my last
I
point.
want to do a really fun game before we get off the podcast. Super quick. And this is super fun. I don't know where I saw this, but underrated or overrated. So I'm going to just name something and I want you to say underrated or overrated.
Okay. Let's go.
Verification badges on IG.
What the heck is that?
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
It's when someone has that little check box,
Overrated.
that blue check box.
Overrated.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Dinner en blanc.
Overrated. Don't know what that is. It sounds snooty, so overrated for me. What is it?
It is overrated.
So there we go. The name said it. Go ahead. Next.
This is what happens when you have 2 kids. You just don't pay attention to celebrations.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I focus on my business, which is important to me. I focus on my loved ones, which is important to me.
Absolutely.
And other people in the industry who I want to see everybody rise up. That's also why we're doing this podcast. But that's what's important to me. The stuff on Instagram or social media, it's super not important to me, which is also why yesterday I posted something without makeup. Someone messaged me.
What did they say?
My friend Leilani, if you're watching, she was like, "Oh, you must have really high, what was it?
Collagen?
Self-actualization. Because you posted that and you weren't wearing makeup." And I'm like, yeah, because the message was too important. The message was important, and therefore I did not have time to care about how I look when I posted the message. This is also how I run my business now too. It's like, what is important? What is going to get the results?
So what was her point? I
actually think she meant it in a lovely way. Her point was that the message was important. And had I spent more time on just the appearance, perhaps the message wouldn't have been delivered. And then it was kind of one of those things where she had said to me, "I wish that I could do that." And I'm like, "But you can, because you also don't need makeup." Separate topic. But to answer your question, it was overrated. What was the next one?
Dinner en blanc is overrated, but it is some people's way of networking.
Oh, okay.
And
Wait,
kind of,
then. This isn't to be judgmental. I think that, no, I want to say this because it makes it harder now during COVID unless you're doing Zoomed networking. Mm-hmm. I think that there's many different ways to generate business. There's no right or wrong way to do it. If you are somebody who generates business from exactly
events,
I don't mean it in a bad way. I think that you do you. You should do it 100%.
This is for fun, and this is just your opinion.
Okay, but for me, I don't generate business that way, so overrated. Next.
Peloton. Or am I pronouncing it right?
It is Peloton.
Peloton.
Well, I've never actually, my sister-in-law keeps trying to get me to try it, and I'm like, no, man. I'm not interested in it because I hardly have enough time to work out right now.
Do you even like
with
cycling
the baby
in general?
I don't, because I create muscle very easily, so it makes my legs huge.
Okay.
But also, I'm trying to be as efficient as possible. So I like to be outdoors right now, and I'll go running as my outlet. So for me, it's overrated simply because I'm not interested in that. Okay. However, I've heard it's great.
Lock boxes.
I don't use them. But they can be a good idea. Mm-hmm. I personally like to show the property myself or have a member of the team show the property because I feel that it speaks directly to customer service. And there might be important parts about the home or area that would need to be highlighted. And I wouldn't rely on the buyer's agent to specify that. Mm-hmm. So I guess overrated.
You're overrated. Specialty donuts.
Well, I'm allergic to gluten, but I would say underrated because I love donuts. And if they had a great gluten-free donut that you guys know about, then definitely hit me up.
I'll look out for them.
Yeah, I love
haven't
sweets.
Found one yet.
Okay.
Well, thanks guys for listening.
That was so fun. We should do more of that, yeah?
Overrated, underrated?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where I got it. Maybe Jimmy Fallon. Not sure.
Oh, he's funny.
Thanks for listening, guys. Well, this is, again, finishing Q1, the first quarter with 10 deals plus. Yeah. And we'll be back next week with a special guest.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone.
And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.
Rate, review, and subscribe.
It's into my brain to finish this off with rate, review, and subscribe.
Okay, I will help you with that the next time.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks.